welcome to this week's book club episode for Dark Disciple by Christie Golden. If you're not familiar with this series, we take a Star Wars book and look at it a couple of chapters at a time to get into the nitty-gritty details of the story. If you want to check out the description, you can see the other books we've already done, and go back to the beginning of this book. But today we are going to be discussing chapters 26, 27, and 28. And with that, let's jump right into chapter 26. This chapter finds us with Ventress after her long think with Obi-Wan, and time has begun to pass. She went back to what she knows best, which is bounty hunting, and she's been taking the odd job where she can just to kind of keep going. She's also taken up to drinking more heavily than she had in the past. She says that she never really used to drink to get drunk, but it's what's been helping her. She's also been dealing with dreams and nightmares of Voss, just like Voss had nightmares of her. So we're seeing these kind of parallel tortured lives, but albeit a very different kind of torture for the two of them. What becomes even more grueling for Ventress is the idea that Voss has truly become Dooku's second-in-command. There's all kinds of news footage of him as this Admiral Enigma, this mysterious person who's with Dooku, who's kind of popped up as the new cool other person in charge, his new kind of what would be an apprentice figure. And he's used as a huge propaganda prop, and that just makes her feel worse. And to see all of these ways in which the Republic has seemingly taken a loss because of him. In a way, it's a fate worse than death for her to see him in. You know, it's not just that he's gone, it's that he's been turned into something he would have stood against, and being used to hurt the very people he was trying to protect, that he went to the edge and went over, and that's something that she's having to carry. While she's dealing with all this, she gets followed by Desh, Voss's good friend, who convinces Ventress to come to the temple and face the council. What follows is a really tense conversation with the Jedi Council. Of course, Windu doesn't really take her appearance well and wants to arrest her immediately, but Obi-Wan puts himself on the line, saying, no, when she came here, I promised to keep her safe if she would come and give us any kind of information about Voss. Windu is completely thinking that he is of the mind of everybody else in the room, and thinks that he knows how this is going to go. But what's been a continuous surprise to the rest of the council is how Yoda reacts to Ventress. It's important to keep in mind that the first episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars, not the movie, but like the first episode that aired on TV, was an episode about Yoda facing off with Asajj. She tried to have Yoda killed so she could strong-arm the Toydarian people into joining the Separatists, and Yoda ends up making a complete and utter fool of her in the process. So you would kind of think that Yoda would be more adversarial about this. Certainly Windu thinks that, but Yoda's kind of had his finger on the pulse of something for a while, and knows that whatever's going on, Ventress is still really important, and he's not gonna let that go undone. During the conversation, Windu throws it in Ventress's face that she taught him the dark side, and that she's the reason why any of this happened to Voss. Where Ventress throws it back and is like, you're the guy, you're the ones that sent him to me. Don't put this solely on my shoulders. You all made this decision. Now, here's where some of the kind of council politics get interesting, is because yes, the council ultimately made this decision, but the council ultimately made this decision because of what Yoda wanted. Like, it's fair, I think, to throw this back at Mace, but it's not like Mace ever really wanted this. This is more Mace speaking on Mace's behalf for what Mace has always been against from the beginning of the book. It's Mace failing to speak for the council, because really what's going on here is the council is doing what Yoda says. Throughout this book, from using Ventress from the get-go to still continuing to work with her now, it's been because Yoda's like, nope, we're doing it this way. Yoda isn't really talking to the council. He believes something so strongly that he kind of keeps pushing it forward. Now, it's easy to look at this and think, well, maybe that's just Yoda having some sort of prideful response. Maybe that's just Yoda wanting to do this and he's taking advantage of the council. But, you know, based off of the fact that this seems to be a Star Wars story of mixed destinies and fates, I think it's also fair to say that maybe Yoda's hearing a little bit more clearly than everybody else. So it's going to be kind of a from your point of view type of thing and how you take this, but I do think it's relevant that what we're seeing here is just how much the Jedi Order really is Yoda's Jedi. As much as there is a council, and as much as they would deliberate amongst themselves, they do what Yoda says, and that's coming through strongly in this chapter as well. We see this in chapter 27 as well. 26 ends with Ventress being sent off with Dash and Anakin, while the council deliberates. 27 starts with the council talking. Kenobi wants to send a rescue mission after his friend, Voss, and Mace is like, no, and Yoda is like, yes, and then Mace is like, what? Again, we're doing what Yoda wants. Yoda really feels strongly that something is happening, and it involves Voss and Ventress doing their thing. I mean, this is blowing Mace's mind and the rest of the council, really. They just learned that Voss had taken a lover, which is something Jedi are not supposed to do. He's gone over and is apparently the right-hand man to Count Dooku, and Yoda still wants to work with Ventress and go as far as to offer her a pardon if she helps them bring back Voss. And so this is just kind of blowing everyone's mind, except for maybe Obi-Wan, who is just kind of happy because I think he wants, I know he wants Voss back, and he has a trust for Ventress, which we see in a little bit when Obi-Wan and Ventress share a moment, and Obi-Wan even says, like, I think that you might be able to help Voss because I've seen you come back from the brink. And it means a lot to Ventress that Obi-Wan acknowledges that she has walked away from her darkness. I mean, she's still a dark sider. If this were like a KOTOR character generator and you have the blue-red bar, I mean, she'd still be more red. She just wouldn't be all the way down to like the Sith logo part of it, you know what I mean? I wouldn't call her like even in the middle or neutral, but she's not to the point where the dark side has consumed her and is guiding her every action. And I think that's something that Obi-Wan appreciates and is hopeful that she can do the same thing for Voss. You know, maybe she was the one that walked him in that direction, but she also might be the one uniquely qualified to walk him back. So her, Obi-Wan, and Anakin go on a mission, and one of the first things I think about is, man, if this was an episode of the Clone Wars, I would have loved to see the three of these characters on a mission together. We got Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Dooku on a mission in the Clone Wars when Dooku got captured by Hondo. Seeing this would have been absolutely incredible. Of course, it's wonderful to be able to read it. We still get this story, but there's so much about this book where I'm like, man, it would have been a great arc to see realized, especially the way the Clone Wars saved season was just so stunningly beautiful when we finally got to see like the Siege of Mandalore episodes. But this is what we got. It's absolutely wonderful in the form we have, but that was just my thought. It's just, I'd love to hear these three like voice actors getting to go off on each other, especially because Ventress and Anakin are bickering constantly. You know, Anakin's jazzed anytime he gets to go be a part of a fight, especially something where he can go fight Dooku. He's not particularly jazzed to have Ventress there. There's something of a rival insofar as I think Anakin really wants to have this rivalry with Ventress, but Ventress is like, son, I've fought so many other Jedi, I'm not sure I actually care about you that much, and there's just kind of this gruffness between the two of them. That said, the way she gets them on Dooku's ship, Anakin really can't help but be impressed. He does recognize the talent that she has, and so off they go, looking for Voss and Dooku. It's almost a little bit like the beginning of Revenge of the Sith in a way, only they don't really understand what they're about to walk into. Chapter 28, they're sneaking around the ship, they try to get to the bridge, it's still awkward, they're still bickering, but, you know, they make their way, and they're assuming that Voss or Admiral Enigma will be on the bridge, because that's where the right-hand man would be, but when they walk in, it isn't Voss, it's Dooku, and they figured Dooku would be on the ship, but maybe not, like, in the seat. So that's the first kind of weird thing that happens. So they get into this fight, and Anakin goes right for fighting Dooku, because that's probably all he really wants to do anyway, and Obi-Wan locates Voss. Ventress is covering Obi-Wan, like, you just see that they're a really good team, even though they're kind of an awkward team, they're all kind of finding the position that they're best at handling. It's also impressive that Ventress is not the one keeping Dooku busy. Her main goal really is to get Voss back, and that's so critical and important to her, even more so than attacking Dooku. That was her rage and has been her rage for so long, but now protecting Voss is the most important thing, in the way that, you know, her being available to protect Obi-Wan and, like, guide Obi-Wan to where they need to go get him, as opposed to, like, she could be like, Obi-Wan, you gotta take care of this yourself, Anakin and I are gonna fight Dooku, or Anakin, I got him. I think it's important to note where she finds herself being most important in this skirmish. And as all this is going on, Ventress has the strange feeling that she's actually rooting for Anakin to take down Dooku. She still hates Dooku. She still wants Dooku dead. She just has higher priorities, and has no problem if Anakin is the one that takes him out. This is kind of this new strange, oh, I have odd allies now, moment for her. It's then Obi-Wan discovers that Voss isn't on the bridge, he's in the brig, and it seems that he was a prisoner all along, a propaganda prop, and hope swells within Ventress, and they run to get to where Voss would be. They find Voss, his body is torn up as he has like a new kind of physical torture that he's been going through, even different than what he had been going through before. He's beaten, he's broken, he's bleeding, but Ventress is convinced that he's still consumed by the dark side. Ventress keeps remembering the Sith eyes and like how consumed he was by the dark side. And this story he's telling of, oh, I had to fake it. Dooku was watching us. You know he records everything. If I was going to stay in deep cover, you know, I had to fake it. I had to pretend like I was on his side. And that's the dissonance there for her, is he was consumed, and she knows, like, Sith eyes are not, like, you know, he didn't pop in contact lenses or something, so she's really concerned about what she's hearing from him, and the fact that she's almost kind of feeling nothing from him is, to her, more confirmation that she's not feeling, like, the wealth of light within him. She's feeling nothing. Obi-Wan doesn't sense the dark, so he doesn't think there's anything up, and Voss is acting normal. But Ventress lashes out and attacks him, and that's the kind of smaller cliffhanger that we're left on for these chapters. These were a real critical couple of chapters. They were shorter and a little bit more action-packed, so there's less to really kind of dig into without knowing where the story is going to go. Again, I remember kind of like the broad strokes of the ending of the book and kind of where we're heading, but not down to the details, so I don't really want to get into it too much until I've actually really read this stuff going forward. And for people who don't know where this book goes or how things end up, I don't want to get into that either. So we'll piece this apart as chapters go. But that's really the big thing now, is like, was Voss able to come back? Was he ever really that far gone? What's going on with him? The bigger themes to kind of look at over these chapters are just the notion of the Jedi Order itself. Again, I went on quite a bit about how it really is Yoda's Jedi, how so much of what goes on in the Jedi Order is often deferred to him, but also just how the Jedi do seem to be able to work with somebody like Ventress. And I think this is something that's kind of interesting when we look at Anakin's eventual fall, and how Yoda and Obi-Wan both believe that Anakin is so far gone in what he's done, even though they have these experiences with Ventress, and hopefully ultimately Voss. So for me, it's just looking at how this book fits in with kind of greater prequel lore. But that's really what I have to say for this week. For next week, let's keep up the tradition of doing 3 chapters at a time, so that'll be 29, 30, and 31. If you're not already, please follow us on the socials, leave us a comment. I'd love to know what your thoughts are about the book so far. And with that, I will talk to you guys next week.